This video is brought to you by Android Authority's Tech Deals. If you could use 3 TB of storage without any monthly billing, stick around for more details. The 16-inch MacBook Pro is what the 15-inch should have been since 2016. It's a laptop for people who want a laptop to get work done. Not hobbyists, not people who want a Netflix machine or any kind of gamer. It's for creative professionals and people like that. Before we go any further into the review, here's the spec sheet of the laptop that I'm looking at today. It's not got the crazy RAM or storage options, but it's got the important upgrades in my opinion. That makes this laptop £3,499 as spec'd. The minimum is £2,399 and the maximum is £6,099. That means that this one is kind of the best bang for the buck in terms of specs. Okay, so what's it good at? Well, every video that I've made for Android Authority since early April has been fully edited on this notebook using a combination of Adobe After Effects, Premiere Pro, Audition and Photoshop. My main browsers are Chrome and Brave, and I usually have Slack and Spotify open in the background, and on the odd occasion Discord as well. I've yet to have a single app crash, which is not something I can say about my Windows 10 machine. And as a workhorse, which this has been, it's been absolutely fantastic with no issues whatsoever, and if I really needed to, I could easily replace my desktop machine with this laptop if all I needed a computer for was work. I shoot and export Ultra HD 4K 100 megabit per second video files, and the editing process on this thing is as smooth as my desktop. Export times do take a pretty big hit unfortunately. Adobe just released a really cool update that halves export times on NVIDIA GPUs, and because the MacBook only has AMD options, that unfortunately doesn't apply here. During editing I was getting around 85C, and when rendering it averaged 95C under full load, which is nuts until you consider the form factor. This data was all gathered using Intel's Power Gadget, and the fans, boy do they spin when rendering. Here's what it actually sounds like. Editing and previewing on the 16-inch display is really nice, though it is a drastic change from my 21:9 display as it's taller as opposed to wider. The MacBook's panel gets plenty bright, plenty dim, and has a great resolution without having anything go to waste. The viewing angles are solid, and the size itself feels a little overly large at times when it's just on your lap, but that's only ever a good thing when it comes to video editing, as timelines can get pretty heavy. When I'm editing, I feel like an external mouse is a must. Not because the huge trackpad is bad by any means, but I'm personally more of a mouse person. For anything that doesn't require heaps of precision, I typically go with the trackpad on this machine. It has smooth glass, and it uses as much vertical space as possible between the bottom of the keyboard and the end of the machine. And due to it being force touch, you can click anywhere on the pad and have it register and feel the same, since it's solid state with force sensors and haptic feedback to emulate a click. Moving up to the keyboard however, now this is where I'm really interested. I used the previous 15-inch MacBook Pro model for around 6 months, and as much as I wanted to get on with it, I just couldn't. This time around though, there's plenty of travel, a dedicated escape key, and an overall much more comfortable typing experience for those of us writing scripts or long reviews. All of this while adding just 0.7mm and 170 grams, which is impressive because you get a way better keyboard and better cooling assembly in a notebook that doesn't look or feel much chunkier than before. In fact, the industrial design and the look of the laptop doesn't really seem much like a desktop replacement. It's got a minimal and executive aesthetic with a more subtle Apple logo compared to previous versions, and a total of just 5 ports, 4 Thunderbolt 3s, of which all can be used for charging, and a 3.5mm headphone port. Remember that one? I have mixed feelings about this because as much as I absolutely love that Apple is pushing the wave of USB-C, USB-C everything in my personal opinion, I'm not over the fact that it doesn't have an SD card slot, because both my voice recorder and my camera both use SD cards, and a lot of creatives are missing out on that on this machine. As for the rest of the hardware, the bezels aren't the thinnest in the world, Dell seems to do that better, but Apple is getting there with these. And the same goes for these speakers. They are truly as good as people have been saying. The amount of depth, bass and presence in the speakers is shockingly good given the tiny cabinet size and slim form factor. The touch bar is, well, it's the touch bar. It's not all that useful, and whilst I haven't had any issues with it on my device, I did have issues with it on the 15-inch, and just thinking that it could crash anyway is annoying. I am much more of a physical key kind of person. Due to muscle memory and not having menus to go into, it's a shame, but I really do hope that they drop it on the next version of the MacBook because, well, I don't know a single person with one of these laptops that actually likes it. Before I get onto battery life, software and pricing, here is a message from today's sponsor. Everyday computer users are juggling huge amounts of data these days, and with so many different storage options, it can be easy to lose track of your files. With Digu, you get 3 TB of secured backup space in a shareable format that's easy to navigate from any device. Instead of paying a monthly fee like you would for any other cloud storage provider, you get lifetime access for just one price. 3 TB is $69.99 after our discount, but they have other offerings right up to 10 TB. Get more details through the link in the video description. Right, now let's get on to what I think is one of the best parts of the MacBook Pro experience, and that is the battery experience. And note that I said battery experience there, not battery life. See, the battery life is pretty good. I can edit an Ultra HD video on medium brightness for over 2 hours before plugging it in, which is how long a typical video takes to edit anyway. That means that I can edit a basic video from start to finish in full performance mode, completely untethered, which is not something you can say about a lot of other laptops. Because typically with Adobe Premiere Pro, when you're not plugged into power, your laptop runs slower in these editing applications versus when you are plugged in. In macOS, this doesn't happen, so you get the full editing experience on the go. Now, sure, 2 to 3 hours of editing time isn't necessarily the best in the world, but when you consider the form factor of this thing and that you're getting desktop class performance in something this thin, I feel like that's a game changer for a lot of people, and it definitely has been for me. The 16-inch MacBook Pro comes with a huge 100 watt-hour battery and a 96 watt USB-C charger. The latter is in a pretty small form factor, and even more so if you get the one with a US plug. The laptop charges with this adapter in just over 90 minutes, which I find to be pretty reasonable given the battery size. The software is what you would typically buy a Mac for, and it's why I dropped over 3K on this laptop. My pretty hefty desktop machine running Windows crashes Premiere Pro every 5 minutes when editing in a heavy timeline. On the MacBook, that hasn't happened once. Granted, some people don't have as many irks and problems with Windows 10 as I seem to have had over the past 5 years, but when I can depend on my laptop, even in docked and in portable mode, to do everything I need without crashing, that really does save me a lot of time. There are many reasons to go with either Windows or Mac OS, and there are groups of fanboys on either side too, but here's how I look at it. If I want versatility, more control, and to do any kind of gaming, I go to my Windows machine. If I want something that I can depend on, I go to Mac OS. It's as simple as that for what I do day to day. So independently, gaming performance isn't all that bad, but the small library of games isn't ideal, the ones that can be natively installed on the device. That said, you can definitely stream games to your MacBook using something like Steam in-home streaming, or if you don't have a gaming machine, something like Google Stadia potentially in the future. Although if you're really looking for a gaming machine, there are heaps of much better Windows laptops out there. With everything out of the way, is the 16-inch MacBook Pro worth £3,000 or the equivalent in your country? Well, yes and no. If you're looking for something to game on, no. If you're looking for something to do just simple tasks on, no. And honestly, why would you spend 3K on a device to do that? But if the stuff you do day to day, making money, requires or is better on macOS, I think it's a fantastic machine. The 16-inch is a massive, massive leap, for me at least, over the 15, just due to the fact that on that machine I couldn't call it a desktop replacement, but for this one I could easily call it that. If you're not a creative professional or the work that you do doesn't require a fairly powerful Mac system, then pick up either a MacBook Air or something on the Windows side that's got more bang for your buck. With that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. I know it was a little bit different, but we did put out a poll asking if you wanted to see more than just phone content, and the answer was a resounding yes. So we thought we'd give it a go. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas for Android Authority, and I'll see you later.